Sometimes the things that shape your adult life began long before adulthood, long before relationships, long before marriage, and sometimes they begin even in childhood. This is my story. And today I want to go back to childhood. This is because many times when people try to understand their lives, they only look at the present. But the truth is, many adult decisions are rooted in things that formed quietly and much earlier. I grew up in abject poverty, not temporary difficulty, but real lack. My mom raised me and my siblings largely on her own after separating from my dad. And I want to say this carefully because as I reflect now, I understand that adults also carry pain, they carry disappointment and unresolved emotions now from experience, yeah? But as children, we do not always understand the decisions adults make. We simply grow up inside the consequences of them. My mom worked hard. She worked so very hard. She fought to provide for us, to pay our school fees, to make sure we survived. And I do really respect her strength deeply. Rest in peace, mom. But poverty leaves impressions on a child, not only physically but emotionally. You become aware very early that life is harder for your family than for others. You notice what you cannot afford. You notice what is missing. You even notice struggle before you have language for it. And at the same time, I was growing up without my father fully present in my life. Not even because he did not exist, not because he refused responsibility, but because separation had created distance. And looking back now, I understand that this shaped something in me very early. It created a longing for stability, for togetherness, for the idea of one home with a mother and a father raising children together. At the time, I did not understand how deeply that desire would later influence my decisions, but it stayed with me quietly. And then eventually, after primary school, my mom allowed me to reconnect more closely with my father. Yeah, he took responsibility for my education and sent me to the city to continue school while living with relatives. And that period of my life shaped me deeply as well because I lived in different homes, I met different types of people, and in those homes, I experienced two completely different realities. Some relatives treated me with love, they saw potential in me, they encouraged me, they empowered me. They made me feel intelligent, guys. They made me feel smart. They made me feel capable. They've made me feel important. Yeah, life will always happen, but others reduced me. I became a village girl, of course, that I was because I came from the village, the dark girl, the short girl, the primitive girl who needed refinement. And sometimes I was treated less like family and more like an unpaid help. Sorry, I have to say this because people need to learn from this. And when you are young, You do not always know how to separate other people's opinions from your identity. So some of those words stayed with me, not visibly, but internally. And this is something I now understand clearly. Words repeated over time can quietly become beliefs. So even when they are not true. So while some people were building confidence in me, other experiences were building insecurity. And the mind will always go quick for the insecurity, for the down part, and we get stuck there. And both existed at the same time. That is why healing is sometimes complicated, because people can be loved and wounded at the same time, in the same season, encouraged in one environment and diminished in another. And those contradictions, guys, they can shape how a person sees themselves later in life. That is me. Looking back now, I understand something I did not understand then. Childhood is not just a stage of life, it's actually a foundation. And when certain things are not addressed early, they quietly travel with you into adulthood, into relationships, into marriage, into parenting, and even into identity. So many times people are reacting to wounds they never fully recognized. So that is why understanding matters. Not blame, not bitterness, but understanding. This is because once you begin to understand your foundations, you begin to understand yourself differently as well. And for me, that understanding became part of healing. So thankful to God. If you are trying to make sense of your own experiences, know that Begin Again Woman is here every Monday, which helps you, especially women, put structure to their experiences and begin again intentionally. You also have Boardroom with God every Wednesday. It is what I call the spiritual arm of Rise Above All Odds. That's my sweetheart. That's my anchor, guys. And Boardroom with God helps you to stay aligned, and my story too. Every Friday, it walks you through this journey step by step. So I would like you to follow us on Facebook, on TikTok, on YouTube, and of course on Instagram. Guys, childhood passes, but many of its lessons stay quietly within us. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Bye.